Most men never realize this, but attraction doesn't begin with confidence. It doesn't begin with charm, and it definitely doesn't begin with trying to impress a woman. It begins with something much simpler and much more powerful. It begins with curiosity. I'm Magda Kay, and I want you to hear this clearly because it changes everything about how women experience you. A woman doesn't feel drawn to a man because he talks about his achievements, his job, or his lifestyle. She feels drawn to a man who makes her feel something inside herself. A man who helps her tap into her own emotions, her own memories, her own desires. And the fastest way to do that is by asking the right kind of questions. Most guys ask questions that keep everything safe and flat. Where do you work? How was your day? Where did you go to school? These questions don't activate anything meaningful inside a woman. They don't spark emotion. They don't create chemistry. They only create polite conversation. That's why so many men walk away from a date thinking everything went fine while she walks away feeling nothing. Not because he's boring or unattractive, but because he never invited her into a deeper space. Women feel attraction when they feel understood. When a man asks about the things that shaped her, the moments that meant something to her, the passions that light her up. When he makes space for her to express who she really is, not the polite version she gives the world, but the real version underneath, that's when something wakes up in her. That's when she starts to lean in because you're no longer just another man trying to impress her. You're the man who sees her. And here's the part most men misunderstand. Asking deeper questions isn't too intense. It isn't needy. It isn't overinvested. It actually shows confidence. It shows maturity. It shows emotional awareness. Something that's far more attractive to women than bravado or scripted charm. She doesn't want a man who performs. She wants a man who pays attention. A man who's not afraid to explore her inner world. A man who knows how to listen without rushing to talk about himself. When you ask questions that touch her emotions, her brain activates the same pathways associated with bonding and desire. She starts associating you with that feeling of being seen, heard, and valued. And that feeling is intoxicating. It's what makes her replay the conversation later. It's what makes her text her friends about you. It's what makes her curious about you in a way she can't ignore. So, when you shift from shallow questions to meaningful ones, you're not just talking differently. You're triggering a completely different response in her mind and body. You're creating emotional chemistry, the kind that doesn't fade when the date ends. The kind that only deepens, and that's where real attraction begins. There's something most men never learn, and it's the reason so many connections feel flat, distant, or one-sided. Women don't open their bodies where they can't open their hearts. Attraction isn't just about chemistry, flirting, or physical touch. It starts much deeper than that. It starts in the nervous system. It starts with safety. Emotional safety isn't about being soft or overly agreeable. It's not about nodding at everything she says. It's about creating an environment where she feels like she can relax into herself, where she's not being judged, rushed, or subtly pressured. When a woman feels safe with you, her entire physiology shifts. Her breathing changes, her shoulders drop, her guard softens, and that softness is what allows desire to grow. Most men don't realize how quickly women can sense emotional tension in a man. His need for approval, his anxiety about the conversation, his fear of silence. When a man is unsettled inside, she feels unsettled too. But when you're calm, steady, and present, she mirrors that. Presence is one of the most attractive qualities a man can bring into any interaction. Presence means you're not performing. You're not waiting for the right moment to brag about something. You're not rehearsing your responses in your head. You're simply there listening, noticing, and allowing the moment to unfold naturally. Women feel deeply when you listen without interrupting. When you ask follow-up questions instead of redirecting the conversation back to your own stories, when you hold space for her emotions, even the complicated ones, you're showing her something rare. A man who isn't intimidated by her inner world. A man who doesn't rush to fix her feelings. A man who doesn't panic when she gets vulnerable. And that experience is powerful. It builds trust. It builds emotional connection. And emotional connection is the foundation of physical intimacy. When she feels seen, she begins to lean in. When she feels safe, she becomes curious. When she feels understood, she starts to desire. And this is where most guys fail without realizing it. They try to create attraction through jokes, compliments, or charm. But none of that matters if she doesn't feel emotionally grounded around you. Safety is what unlocks femininity. Safety is what makes her let out that small breath she didn't know she was holding. Safety is what allows her to open up emotionally and eventually physically. A woman wants to feel chosen, not consumed. She wants to feel like you're paying attention to who she is, not just what she looks like. When she realizes you're the kind of man who can hold her stories, her feelings, and her presence without flinching, something shifts inside her. Her guard drops, her interest rises, and her desire starts to move toward you naturally, effortlessly, and without force. Because emotional safety isn't the opposite of attraction. It's the root of it. There's a moment in every connection where a woman decides, often without saying a word, whether she sees you as someone she can open up to or someone she keeps at a distance. And that moment is almost always shaped by one thing: the difference between need and desire. Most men don't realize how strongly a woman can feel the energy of need. Neediness isn't about texting too much or wanting to see her often. It's the energy of trying to earn her approval, trying to win her attention, trying to get her to like you. When a man carries that energy, even subtly, it makes a woman's nervous system tense. It makes her guard go up. She feels pressure instead of attraction. But desire works differently. Desire is grounded. Desire is steady. Desire is a man who doesn't chase, doesn't rush, and doesn't try to perform. A man who's comfortable with silence. A man who stays rooted in himself even when she gets emotional or pulls back for a moment. That's masculine presence. And women feel it immediately. Presence tells her you're not trying to impress her. You're not auditioning for her attention. You're not waiting for her reaction to decide how you feel about yourself. You're simply there, confident in who you are. And when a man carries that energy, something shifts inside a woman. She relaxes. She becomes curious. She starts to lean toward him instead of away. This is where the key question comes in. The kind of question that turns an ordinary conversation into something unforgettable. It's not a sexual question. It's not a teasing line. It's a question that invites her to reveal the part of herself she rarely shows. What's something you wish more people understood about you? That question touches her inner world. It makes her pause. It makes her feel seen. It makes her want to open up emotionally first, physically later, because now she's not talking to a man who wants something from her. She's talking to a man who wants to know her. And when she starts sharing, don't rush. Don't jump in with your own story. Don't try to tap what she said. Just listen. Ask why that matters to her. Ask how it shaped her. Follow her emotion instead of leading with yours. You're showing her you can handle her depth. And that's rare. That's magnetic. That's what makes her think about you later. Replay the conversation and feel drawn back to you without understanding why. Attraction doesn't come from perfection. It doesn't come from lines, tactics, or strategies. It comes from the space you create inside her. A space where she feels safe, seen, and chosen. When you stop needing her approval, she starts desiring your presence. When you stop rushing her body, she naturally moves closer. And when you ask the right question at the right moment, You unlock a side of her that she doesn't show to just anyone. That's the man she remembers. That's the man she thinks about, and that's the man she wants to open up to emotionally and physically. And here's what most men don't understand yet, but will completely change how you show up once you do. Attraction isn't something you create in a woman. It's something you allow by removing the pressure, the performance, and the unconscious grasping. When you stop trying to lead the moment somewhere specific and instead stay present with what's actually happening, her body relaxes even more. And relaxation is the gateway to desire. Women are constantly managing energy. They're reading tone, posture, timing, breath, and intention. Long before words land, her nervous system has already decided whether she feels open or closed. That's why trying harder almost always backfires. The more a man pushes for attraction, the more she pulls away. But when a man is anchored in himself, when he's curious without agenda, attentive without expectation, she feels free to come closer on her own terms. This is why silence matters more than most men realize. Silence isn't awkward when you're grounded. Silence becomes a container. It gives her space to feel. It gives her room to process what's coming up inside her. And when you don't rush to fill every pause, she senses that you're comfortable in yourself. That comfort communicates safety, and safety allows her desire to surface naturally without force. A man who can sit in silence without anxiety is a man who doesn't need reassurance. He doesn't need constant feedback. He doesn't need her reaction to validate his worth. And that independence is deeply attractive. It tells her you're not trying to take something from her. You're simply sharing space with her. And that changes everything. There's also something powerful about emotional pacing. Many men think connection means intensity. They think going deep fast is what creates closeness. But real attraction unfolds when depth is matched with patience. When you allow her to reveal herself at her own rhythm. When you don't push for vulnerability, but you're fully present when it arises. That's when trust deepens instead of collapsing. Women open in layers. And when a man respects those layers instead of trying to peel them back too quickly, she feels honored. She feels chosen. She feels safe enough to go deeper because she knows she won't be rushed, overwhelmed, or misunderstood. And that respect creates a slow-burning desire that's far more powerful than instant chemistry. Another thing most men overlook is emotional leadership. Emotional leadership isn't about controlling the conversation or steering her feelings. It's about staying regulated when emotions arise. When she shares something vulnerable, when she gets quiet, when she pulls back slightly, your steadiness becomes the anchor. You don't panic. You don't chase. You don't withdraw. You stay open, calm, and present. That steadiness tells her you can handle complexity. You can handle depth. You can handle intimacy. And that's what allows her to trust you, not just with her thoughts, but with her heart. A woman doesn't give her desire to a man. She has to manage emotionally. She gives it to a man who can hold his own center. This is why attraction isn't about doing more. It's about being more grounded, more present, more self-contained. When you stop outsourcing your confidence to her response, she feels the difference immediately. She senses that you're not trying to extract validation. You're simply offering connection. And when a woman feels that, something very subtle but very powerful happens. She begins to invest emotionally. She starts thinking about you when you're not there. She starts replaying moments, not because you impressed her, but because you made her feel something real inside herself. You became associated with presence, depth, and emotional safety. That's the kind of attraction that lasts. The kind that doesn't fade after the first date. The kind that deepens over time instead of burning out. Because it's not built on performance, it's built on authenticity. So, if you take anything from this, let it be this. Stop trying to be interesting. Be interested. Stop trying to impress. Learn how to listen. Stop chasing attraction. Create safety and attraction will come to you. Because the man who is calm in himself, curious about her inner world, and unattached to outcome is the man she feels drawn to without knowing why. And once you understand that, you stop chasing women altogether. You start attracting.